Welcome to You Are Your Name. In this season, we're looking at how 5 important topics relate to the mathematical nature of our names. These 5 topics are our purpose, our happiness, our fuller mental balance, our attainment of mental freedom, and our happy long-term relationships with others. So for the past 3 episodes, we've been discussing various facets of purpose. In the first episode, we introduced the principle of involution and evolution of reason, which we consider the principle of life. And the circle diagram that we described is an important symbol of what we would call the allness of life, being both the reason of being and being itself. And this allness power expresses into being through mathematics, language, name, mind, and consciousness, which we call the 5 basic truths. We introduced the term the spark of consciousness, or the spark for short, which we define as the inner potential seated into each individual at the first breath. And this spark is the growth potential of the individual to express consciousness at its highest levels. We measure different aspects of it through the birth path and the group, which were covered in episode 2 and 3. But the ultimate purpose of mind is to develop this universal potential through mental growth towards a universal conscious attainment. And this is how we see spirituality. It is the fulfillment of the reason of being. Our guest today is Ivon Shearing, who is participating by way of one of his many thousands of class recordings, which he's made over 60 years of teaching the Kabalarian Philosophy. Mr. Shearing is the acknowledged leading authority on the principles that we teach in this philosophy, so he's well qualified to discuss it. Today's episode, we will discuss the relationship of the spark, the mind, and consciousness, as this relates to man's ultimate purpose.
In a recent class, you made the reference to, quote, the spark does not have consciousness. Would you please expand on the relationship of the spark to the allness, mind, and consciousness? So what is the spark? And what is consciousness? Unless we have definitions, an understanding of the meaning of those two words, our concept is limited. So we recognize that the principle of involution involves the physical, mental, and spiritual. We realize that this potential coming in as a spark of the allness power. There is a reason of being for everything. It means the finite plane, the reason of being plane, and the reason of every single part of the finite plane. So the spark is here for a reason. It's here to express its reason of being. So, if we think of taking an acorn that has its reason for being, when you plant that acorn, do you plant a whole 30-foot oak tree? No, you plant the potential of it, but there's no oak tree. It has to come through growth. So the spark is an energy seeking expression. The spark has no channel other than to go through the process of growth. And so the child's body has been established as an individual physical. It has been given the operating wholeness, circulation, and so on. It's like a motor idling, waiting for the driver. When that breath of life comes, now it becomes a vehicle. It's like the earth in which you plant the acorn. that seed is just a potential. It is there just by the breath of life. It requires the presence of language to create the life force beyond the physical. And the language and the name stimulate the germination of that potential. And through the avenue, the outcome, just as that acorn sprouts and sends out shoots, so the name creating them with the mind creates the shoot of unfoldment of that potential. It's little Johnny or Mary. They are now becoming aware. It's like a little baby lying in the crib, seeing one of those dangling things and coming to realize that if they touch it, it moves. Or recognizing the presence of the mother coming in with her hand behind her back, and the baby gets all excited because he knows he's going to get fed. All of these things is the awakening of the spark to becoming conscious of life around. And so the consciousness grows and grows. The allness of the spark becomes the miniature expression of the allness in its limited level of growth. And so the allness is getting excited about that bottle. And when you say, "What is your name?" and he says, "Johnny," the allness is now conscious of itself. Johnny is aware of who he is. How old are you? 3. And so the consciousness is involved in the self-mind. And it's all about me. Through time, teaching manners, being generous to others, everything, sharing toys, saying please and thank you, the allness begins to find a level of refinement in expression at that very lower stage of conscious awareness. It's like a grade 2 student looking at some advanced physics and thinking, wow, it has no way of comprehending it until it goes through all the grades, learning step by step how to understand it. And so it is with the allness coming through the breath of life in the physical, and that seed of consciousness is awakened through the name. And as the mind develops, the consciousness grows. Now, the mind is a vehicle for consciousness. For instance, the mind of Johnny was the vehicle for him to realize, I am Johnny. I am 3 years old. The mind is the vehicle by which this consciousness develops. And as we continue to study life, maybe we go and we become an engineer, or we become an electrician, or we become a teacher, we become some profession or some trade or whatever. It is our mind that accepts the responsibility, learning and being able to channel that learning that allows the mind to express the consciousness at that mental level. When the mind becomes conscious of the principle through the power of the word, language, name, and mind, and the reason involved in life, their birth path, there is this new seed being, if you like, planted, or a new phase of unfoldment of the original spark. It's a beginning on a new plane, a new level of energy. It's like going from the water onto the land, going from the land up into the sky, atmosphere. And so the transition is this consciousness becoming conscious as a result of the mind conceiving, understanding, questioning, testing, finding the intelligence in it, the logic in it, proving it. And so we have the mind becoming conscious of the principle. And as we become conscious of the physical, mental, and spiritual phases of life, the mind becomes more and more conscious of that quality, starting with a one, until the mind is conscious of this need to be individual in their expressing the truth, the spark of the allness. Your mind of that conscious mental quality now understands the role of individuality, not of me, John Dokes, but of the spark. I've lifted my mind beyond self, beyond into the principle, seeing the vastness of this allness principle, and realizing that I am a part of it. I am that allness in this individual way. That's my mental phase of attaining consciousness that will be fully developed in the ninth phase of consciousness. But each phase from 1 to 9 must become conscious of the principle to allow the allness to flow through unrestricted. And so you have that responsibility of living in a physical world, a mental world, paying the rent and everything. But when it is appropriate, you stand aside and you give expression to this strong, truthful, individualistic energy. You are the channel. The mind is a growth sequence. The body has its own physical growth pattern to maturity to fulfill the role of being a capable instrument for the expression of life. And every part of the body is essential. When the mind is created and matures, it does so by the law of growth. It grows to conceive consciousness of the principle. And your consciousness allows the expansion of that spiritual power, that true individual, unrestricted, undivided truth. And you allow the truth to be revealed from your spark with its direct connection to the allness in its living experience, draws the allness and channels it through the consciousness, and the allness then is the big power relative to the degree of consciousness of the mind. We're only a part of the allness, but we have a link to it. And the more consciousness one develops, the greater the flow of the allness.
So just like that acorn has the complete blueprint of the full-grown plant, our spark has a complete blueprint of what consciousness should be at its universal levels. It's up to us to develop our awareness of these laws and apply them so that we can put our spark and mind in harmony and express more universally. You could say that mind expresses in 3 octaves, either the emotional, physical, or the mental, intellectual, or the universal conscious. So as we apply the principle of balance and create a balanced mind where we're expressing the positive qualities from 1 to 9, then we're developing that mental freedom, which represents spiritual attainment. So until next week, happy thoughts. Whenever you're ready, here are 3 ways we can help you. Number 1, the Balanced Name Recommendation Service. Join the thousands of others who have harmonized their names with their inner potential to improve their health, happiness, and success. Number 2, learn the principles of mental freedom. Participate in our online training program to gain the essential tools to create all the progressive changes you seek in your life. These proven truths will open up new perspectives and accelerate your attainment of health, happiness, and success. Number 3, let Kalex Solutions help you choose a balanced name for your business, because many business names are an impediment to one's overall business success.